everyone, welcome to back my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Rising after the break when Alina Harper closed the heavy oak door of her apartment behind her, the sound echoed like a final verdict. The air inside still carried traces of her ex-husband Daniel's cologne, though he'd moved out 6 months earlier. News had reached her that morning, delivered in a polite, almost apologetic text from a mutual friend, that Daniel was now dating Marissa Jones, the young assistant who had worked beside Alina for 3 years. For a long moment, Alina simply leaned against letting the words sink in. Marissa, the woman who had helped plan Alina's book launches, fetched her tea during endless editing sessions, and once cried on her shoulder after a breakup. Betrayal wrapped itself around Alina like a cold fog. Grief arrived first, a familiar heaviness in her chest. Then came anger, sharp and bitter. But underneath it all pulsed something quieter, a fragile determination she didn't yet understand. The quiet days the following week unfolded in small, careful steps. Alina kept her morning routine: a cup of black coffee, a silent glance at the river outside her window, a few hesitant sentences typed into her laptop. She was a novelist by trade, yet words suddenly felt foreign. Friends called to console her, their voices filled with indignation. How could he? How could she? Alina nodded through their outrage, but remained strangely calm. Deep down, she sensed that focusing on Daniel and Marissa would only trap her in the past. What she needed, though she couldn't articulate it yet, was a path forward. The spark of a journey. One chilly evening, Alina wandered into a neighborhood bookstore. Her eyes landed on a flyer: Write Your Own Next Chapter, a 12-week creative workshop. The words seemed to glow. Without overthinking, she signed up. The first session gathered a handful of strangers around a scared wooden table. Their assignment: write a letter to someone they would never send. Alina's pen hovered, then began to move. She wrote not to Daniel, but to herself, the woman I'm becoming. You will not be defined by betrayal, she scribbled. Your worth is not tied to anyone's choice to stay or leave. By the time she finished, her hand trembled, but her spirit felt a flicker of strength. Rebuilding from the inside out, the workshop became her sanctuary. Week after week, Alina poured her emotions onto the page. She wrote short stories about travelers finding hidden villages, poems about rivers carving new paths through stone, and fragments of a novel about a woman who turns heartbreak into art. Outside class, she made small, deliberate changes. She joined a sunrise yoga group by the river. She repainted her living room, a soft amber that caught the morning light. She even adopted a rescue dog, a golden retriever she named Sage, whose clumsy affection made her laugh out loud for the first time in months. Her friends noticed the shift. You look lighter, one said. Alina smiled, realizing it was true. Pain was still there, but it no longer ruled her. The unexpected meeting 3 months after that bookstore evening. Alina attended a local literary festival to read a new short story. Backstage, she felt the familiar tremor of stage fright, until a calm voice behind her said, First reading? She turned to see a man about her age, tall and quietly confident, adjusting his own notes. His name was Marcus, a travel essayist with an easy smile. They exchanged nervous jokes before stepping on stage. When Alina read her piece about a river that refuses to be dammed, the audience listened in rapt silence. Afterward, Marcus approached with genuine admiration. Your words, he said, they carry strength. Something in the way he said it, without pity, without agenda, warmed her more than she expected. Choosing herself as spring edged into summer, Alina and Marcus shared coffee conversations that stretched for hours. Yet Alina moved cautiously, aware that her healing wasn't complete. One evening, as they walked along the riverbank, Marcus paused. I like spending time with you, he said. Alina met his gaze and replied honestly, I like it too, but I need to keep choosing myself first. Marcus smiled, unfazed. That's exactly the kind of person I want to know. It was in that moment Elena understood. Love, when it arrived again, would be a partnership of equals, not a rescue mission. A letter unsent near the end of the 12-week workshop, the instructor asked everyone to revisit their first assignment. Elena opened her notebook and reread her letter to the woman she was becoming. Tears welled, not from sadness but recognition. She had become that woman, steadfast, creative, whole. On a quiet Sunday morning, she wrote one more letter, this time addressed to Daniel. She thanked him, not for the pain, but for inadvertently pushing her toward a deeper strength. She never mailed it. The act of writing was enough. A life renewed 1 year after the breakup, Elena stood on the deck of a river ferry with Sage at her feet and Marcus beside her, heading to a writer's retreat where she would keynote. Her new novel, The River's Turn, had just been accepted by a major publisher. The book told of resilience, of how water finds its way around every obstacle. As the ferry sliced through the glittering current, Elena reflected on the journey. Betrayal had once felt like an ending. Instead, it became an invitation to begin again. She was no longer the woman defined by someone else's choices. She was a creator of stories, a builder of her own future. The takeaway: Elena's story reminds us that the deepest wounds can reveal our greatest strength. Heartbreak is never easy, especially when it involves the sting of broken trust, but it can also be a turning point. By choosing growth over bitterness, by nurturing creativity and self-worth, we transform pain into power. Whether you are facing a fresh loss or carrying an old scar, remember Elena's lesson. Your life is not what happens to you, but what you choose to write next.